maybe it's a double dose of both. I don't know, but I would love you to all visit me. And I could take you there. We could have a girls' day, a sisterhood at the Cove, walk around the famous, what's it called, cliff walk, and then take you to Rejects Beach. And it's not really full of rejects, I promise. But the reason they call it Rejects Beach is because it's right next to where the Kennedys used to beach in summer. So, you know, all the blue-blooded, waspy people are on the other side of the beach, and the rest of us are the rejects.
Love it.
It's a funny name for a beach, but it's definitely a beautiful beach, and it's right on where the Cove, you know, sort of around the corner. So I'm just sort of fantasizing we could have a day like that scheduled for the fall, because I swam last year up until October 19th.
You're kidding me.
No, it was warm all the way through. It was a really warm fall. It was gorgeous. I mean, I was a little cold that day. It was just a quick in and out, but oh my God, it was divine, divine.
Oh,
so maybe if we can, everyone puts their heads together. If you really are all serious and you would like to come to do that with me, I would just be so happy to have you, and we could figure it out. I just don't know where you would all stay because I don't have enough room in my house. So we'd have
Karyn, I know some good hotels there now.
What'd you say?
I know some good hotels there now.
Okay. All right. Well,
Nice.
that could be, you know, maybe in October. They're not so, we should probably plan for September. They're not so expensive, hopefully. But that's an idea. Let's percolate on that. So in the meantime, let's practice on another note.
I shared a bunch of stuff in the chat.
Okay, so it's in the chat. Renee put it in there. Thank you, Renee. So let's break it down. I'm going to open my chat.
Also, I found the one, I could share my screen, or you can. I put a link. I'll send it to you specifically, Karyn.
Okay.
With the one that has Dr. Ladd, the picture of Dr. Ladd. I think you sent that for the Topaz program.
Oh, we should see the one with Dr. Ladd.
That's at the bottom. It's the bottom link. It just got mixed in with the other ones.
And what is the link? Oh, it's what? Dr. Ladd singing?
No, it's a written out one.
Oh yeah, I have that too. So
Yeah.
good. Did you give that to everybody?
Yeah, I just sent the link.
So we've got Om Sahanava Atu. Sahanava Bhaktu. Is that what we're going to say now?
Yeah, so we're going to go, we call call and response. Let's do that, and then we'll open the floor up for questions, and we're going to talk about Vikruti and Prakriti and the different ways to get an assessment for Vikruti and Prakriti. There is not just one way of doing it. I'll tell you the way that I first learned from Dr. Ladd, and then you can't believe 20 years later, whatever we are, to 1997 till, what are we, 2017, however many years, you can't believe how many ways, crazy ways to get Vikruti and Prakriti that are absolutely entertaining, but absolutely accurate. So there's just really many paths up one mountain. So we'll go over those. Let's talk about this Sahana Vavatu now. I'm going to do maybe a few syllables with no harmony, just the enunciation of English, and then you can repeat after me, okay? Ready?
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so Om Sahana Vavatu.
Om Saha Nava Atu.
Vavatu, yes. Say it again. Om
Om
Sahana
Sahana Avatu.
Vavatu.
Avatu.
Yeah, with a V.
Sahana Avatu.
Om Sahana. Does it have an Ava?
Yes, there's an
Yeah,
A.
Make sure you say the V in there, even though it looks like it's sort of hidden in there, because it starts off with an A in that parenthesis. So it's Om Sahana Vavatu.
Om Sahanava Vatu.
Vavatu. You got it.
Avatu.
Good. Okay, now we'll go to the next line. Sahano, and the no where the tongue should be, it's not, it's like a nasal no. It's like that. Om, Sahano, and then bonaktu is an aspirate. It's called aspirate. Bonaktu is like, I'm exaggerating the aspiration, but there's a little, from the bottom of your belly, bhunaktu. Instead of bhunaktu, it's bhunaktu. Can you do that?
So it is saha now, bhanavatu.
Saha now, bhunaktu.
Now,
No, yeah.
No.
bhavanaktu.
Baba.
No. Gunatu.
Bhavanaktu.
So everyone say that again. I want to hear it.
Saha now,
Gunatu.
bhanavatu.
Bhunaktu. Bhunaktu.
Bhanaktu.
Yes. Bhunaktu. Saha now, bhunaktu. In a nasally way.
Saha now.
Now, bhanaktu.
You got it. Now we're going into saha viryam. Saha viryam.
Saha viryam.
Sahaviryam.
You got it. Saha viryam karavavahai. Not hey, hi.
Hi. Karvava. Hi.
You got it. Karavavahai.
I'm reading the Hindi
Karvavahai.
version and saying it.
Oh, good. Karavavahai. Now we have tejas vina.
Tejas vina.
Vana,
Tejas vina.
vina,
Vavadi.
timatu.
See if I can do this slowly. Tejas vina. Oh, it's so hard to say it slow. Let me close my eyes.
Nafti,
Tejas vina.
nafti,
Tamastuma. Vaditamastuma. So that's how I do it. Is I start with a V, but it's broken different here. Tejas vina. Vaditama.
vaditama,
Vaditamastuma.
vaditama,
Astuma.
vastuma,
Vaditamastuma. Tejas nava. Do that again. Tejas nava vaditamastu ma. Tejas nava vaditamastu. That's a tongue
that's
twister.
a mouthful.
It is. Tejas nava vaditamastu. That's how I say it, and it's hard to say it.
Ma.
Tejas vina vaditamastu.
Vadistamastuma.
Say it over and over. Just say it over and over. It creates neural pathways in your brain. Take it to me, make it if you have to. Just say it over and over. Tejas vina vaditamastu. Tejas vina
Tejastima, navastima,
Let's go slowly now. Tejas
tejas,
vina
vina,
vaditu
vaditu,
mastuma.
mastuma,
You got it. Tejas vina
tejastinila,
Tejasvina.
vaditu
vaditu,
mastuma.
mastuma.
You got it. Tejas vina vaditu mastuma. Yes. Okay, you're doing good.
Mastima. Tuma.
Tejasvina vaditu mastuma. Tejasvina vaditu mastuma. Say it over and over. Tejasvina.
Vaditu mastuma.
Tejastima.
Vaditu mastuma.
That's it.
Shanti Om.
Vidvashadahai. I love this. This one rolls off your tongue. This is much easier and it's beautiful. Vidvashadahai. Vidvashadahai.
Hi. Where's the other one? I only have seen one message.
It's on the same line, Indu. It's on the same line. Yeah.
Hi.
So Vidvashadahai. Vidvashadahai.
Veditva Sahavahai.
Vid. So vid means wisdom. Vid vashadahai.
Vasavahai.
Vid vashadahai. Santi, you've got that. So vid vashadahai. Let's start from the top. Om Sahana. Om Sahana.
Om Sahana,
Sahana.
Navatu,
Bhavatu.
Bhavatu,
Sahano.
Sahano,
No.
Sahano. Bhunaktu.
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 Vinatu.
Sahaviryam.
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 Karavavahai.
Karvahai.
Karavavahai.
Karvavahai.
Tejasvina.
Tejasvina.
Tejasvina. This is where it's a tongue twister for me to read it and say it. Tejasvina. Hold on. Tejasvina. I have to sing it. I'm lost. Tejasvina.
Tejasvina.
Om Sahana Bhavatu
Namastu.
Bhavatu Sahaviryam Karavavahai. Tejasvina. Oh my God, you guys, I can't do it. I'm lost. Tejasvina Mastuma, Tejasvina Vaditu Mastuma, Tejasvina Vaditu Mastuma. That's how I say it. Tejasvina Vaditu Mastuma. Really hard to write that in hand.
Vadit tumas tuma.
You got it. Yes, that was great. I heard that. And then we have that last word at the end of the same line and do vidvashavahai.
Vedishta Shavahai.
Say it again. Vidvashavahai.
Vedishta Shavahai.
Vidvasha. Say vidvasha.
Vidishvisha. Vidishvishahai.
Vidvashavahai. Vidvashavahai.
Vidishvishahai.
Okay, I think that was enough practice for today. What do you think?
Thank you. That was very, we have to say it over and over again.
Yeah, that's what I did. You want to know what I did? I used to leave it on the background. I had a YouTube on it, and I'd leave it in the background, and I'd walk around, do my dishes, and sing with the YouTube.
Yes.
Harmony. That's the only way I could do it.
That's the only way to learn it.
Yes, just keep it on the background and sing
Yes.
it, and fake it till you make it, mess up if you have to, but eventually you learn it by repeating it with someone who has the right enunciation and the right harmony. Do you want to say the whole thing together in the harmony now?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, with the harmony.
With the harmony.
Everyone together, won't be call and response.
Okay.
Om Sahana Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vaditu Om
Shanti, Shanti,
How'd that feel?
Better.
Wonderful.
Good.
Good.
Good. All right, so I have this heart stone in my hand. Renee. I'm going to put it down now, Renee. You can start recording. Are you still with us, Renee?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, good.
I also added the YouTube link into the chat, everybody.
Thank you. Brilliant.
Snag that and practice.
Great idea. Okay, so today what I really would like to do is talk about the importance of an open mind and how to embrace that expression, many paths up the same mountain. I started with Dr. Ladd and wasn't aware of all the other paths up the mountain, and that's okay. It's a great way to start. It's like training wheels. You put the training wheels on your bike and you realize they go pretty good, and then you take your training wheels off and you can go any direction you want. And at this point, my training wheels were Dr. Ladd, and I took them off, and I just developed wings on my bike and decided to travel many different paths. And I found, just by experience and observation, that these different paths were actually as accurate, the fruits were as accurate as the other paths. So that's what I look at, is that the proof is in the pudding. So the fruits of the analysis are what matter to me. I would, first have my little pit ahead judgment, And I say, that sounds crazy. I'm not sure I'm going to buy this one. And so that's my first inner dialogue with my own self, of course, because I'm a pitta head. And then, you know, the kapha in me said, well, let's have an expansive mind, and let's look at the fruits, and let's look at how did this really help this person? So does it really even matter how we got to the top of the mountain? If this person is actually helped and her life has improved and she's radiantly more healthy, does it really matter that this Vaidya went into her kitchen to look at the pots and pans in her cupboard to see if they were burned, and then tell her that her Vikruti was pitta and he never felt her pulse? I thought, that sounds crazy, but you know what? He gave her a chikitsa, which is management for pitta, just simply by looking at the pots and pans if they were all had black at the bottom. I thought that was quite brilliant. And seeing other things like, oh God, crazy things like this Vaidya put a string under the door and attached it to a cow, and this woman came in, this client came in, and he watched which direction the string would go, because the cow had the answers, and the cow would go right if it was too much pitta, the cow would go, or too much pitta, or too much vata, he'd go left, or too much kapha, he'd go the other way. So he'd watch the string move under the door, and then he knew the answer. So I almost couldn't buy that one at all, but then I heard about what this woman did, how the results affected her. She actually had fantastic results, whether it was luck, or whether it was magic, or whether Vidya actually means combination of magic and wisdom. It's not just about books, it's about adding the magic, the prabhav, the unexplainable explained is what the magic is, and there's room for that in Ayurveda, but there's really not a lot of room for that here in the Western world. And then another one, this is Dr. Ladd now. So Dr. Ladd goes by the book at first, but then he does go off topic and share little secrets that he doesn't think we're all taking notes or listening, but I took notes. So it's okay. I loved that he shared some of the strangest things, where he would actually take a drop of someone's urine and he'd watch the direction the urine would flow downward. If it flowed downward to the right, if it flowed to the left. He had a whole system of how to determine Vikruti without feeling the pulse. And then there's Jyotish. You can look at somebody's birth time, but that's tricky, because if you don't have the exact birth time, then you're going to be off. So it's really best to use Jyotish along with another system. The Dr. Ladd's very traditional way of getting Prakriti was to actually feel the pulse, and he did it like with two hands like this, and he looks at you in the third eye. It's a little disconcerting to have his face right in your face, looking right at your third eye with both your hands up. He's fully in your astral field, glaring at you, and he's reading so much. He can tell so much. I'll tell you what he read with me. I was blown away. He said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, you cannot eat popcorn. It is your worst food. You have vata pitta disorder, vata pitta, a Vikruti." So he knew that I had had a lot of popcorn in my life, and I love popcorn. It's my favorite food. So from that day on, I stopped eating as much popcorn, and it's changed my life. My digestive system was just, you know, on fire, and I just didn't understand how serious what you put in your mouth, the food, because corn is heating, and then it's popped with hot air. So vata pitta, very vata pitta food. And since I had a surgery when I was 2 years old where my intestines kaleidoscope called intussusception, it was the junction of vata and pitta where the small intestines and large intestines kaleidoscoped. And in that junction is where I'll have constant kuvaigunya, the defective space, kuvaigunya. And anybody that has a kuvaigunya at the junction of vata and pitta, and that can be even appendicitis, there's going to be a kuvaigunya there, then they should never eat popcorn, especially with the prakṛiti that I have of pitta. He also said, while he was staring at my third eye, you will lose entire function of your thyroid in this lifetime. I was blown away, because just when I was 26. I was 31 in his class. I was 31. I'm 50. How old am I? 53 now. So 31, he says, you'll lose entire function. At age 26, I drank radioactive iodine, and it killed my entire thyroid. So he was right. I lost my whole thyroid already, but he didn't know it because he'd never really interviewed me. He didn't take a history like that. He just went right into my astral field and read me like most incredible medical intuitive I've ever been in the presence of. So he also said, you cannot sweat. Stop that sweating. And I said, what do you mean? I'm a dance teacher. I'm a yoga teacher. I walk in the foothills. I love to sweat. It's my life. I drip sweat because I'm an athlete. And he's like, no more. You must only glisten. You must only glisten. I thought, you're kidding me? How am I going to just glisten? He's like, stop the exertion as soon as you feel your sweat starting to glisten and moisten your skin. So that was a big challenge, and I did. And the cystic acne I had all over my face when I was there at age 31, it went away for the first time in my life. I did everything he said. I just glistened. It was hard because I think I was addicted to exercise and the endorphins. And I didn't eat any more popcorn, and I followed the Vata Pitta diet, even though he gave me a Vata Kapha with a P. I'm just so addicted to the F. But Kapha is the correct way. It is my Prakriti. And some of the breathing techniques he gave me, and he told me to wear yellow sapphire. Gave me other ideas of what to do. I saved the intake with his beautiful writing. He drew my tongue, and he made some interesting notes. And if you ever want me to dig that up from 1997, take a picture of what it looks like to get a Vikruti-Prakruti from Dr. Ladd. I'm happy to send that to you. Does anyone want to see that?
Yes, please.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Awesome.
Yes. I'm happy to share that. Yeah. I have no secrets. I just told you all my secrets anyways about my health, but the way he did it, he's so slow and very methodical. The way he's an artist, so his words are on this profile written beautifully. You should see my intakes are all scribble scratch because I'm not an artist, but he is a true artist, and it was very articulate the way he wrote notes during the session that he determined my Vikruti-Prakruti. This was 3 weeks into the class. I had started in the fall. He didn't know me. I was, a fringe dweller in his class. I always sat in the back. Well, not always, but when I was late, I sat in the back. And I was late only because there was sunset going on at 6 p.m. in the Sankhya Mountains, only like half a mile away. And the whole mountainside turned watermelon. And that's what Sankhya means, is watermelon. And sunset, sunset at 6 o'clock, and the class started at 6 o'clock. So it was magic to be in the foothills of the Sankhya Mountains around 5 or 6. And I was addicted to the, what do you call those things that you can inhale during the sunset? They're in poppies. Poppies, it's a drug that you can actually inhale, and I'm just forgetting the name of the drug. You know what it is, but you can inhale it as the sun sets.
DMS, DSM.
They're opiates. They're opiates. Opiates, yes. Poppy opiates, is a P in there. So the poppy seeds have opiates, and then the same opiates come out in the watermelon color of the sunset, especially in watermelon color. The cactuses, the stones, there's so many cactus. It was all, not that much greenery in the foothills, but just to be in there was incredible. Oh, let me shut this off. And I couldn't leave to get there on time, so I would show up around 6:05, but I'd show up with watermelon infused into my blood, so I was smiling and happy, and then I would just very quietly slip into the back of the room. But on, the rainy days or whatever days I wasn't exercising, I was right up front, less than 1 foot from him, right at his feet, because we were on the floor. So he only knew me for 3 weeks in his classroom, so he didn't really know me very well at all, because there were 25 students in the class. So he could never have figured out that I lost my thyroid or that I had intussusception and a huge scar at the junction of Vata Pitta. And to tell me about popcorn. How did he know that? There was even one time he felt my pulse in class and said, "Oh, you had wheatgrass for lunch." Your pulse is jumping like wheatgrass. And I looked at my friend Barbara. I don't know if you all know Barbara. No, Barbara didn't teach this session. Barbara was a teacher in my last session, and she, I said, "Do I have green mustache?" Like, how did he know I had wheatgrass? He could feel the wheatgrass in my pulse. I was blown away by that. So yes, the pulse is a great way to determine Prakriti, Vikruti, but there's so many other ways, and everyone's going to have their own gift. Remind me to send you the Dr. Ladd thing, because I'll probably forget at the end, but if anyone can make a note, I'll just read that email note and then pop it in to email for all of you. But anyway, so that was a pretty astounding first time with him alone in the office. He did look at my Jyotish chart, so he did use the Jyotish as another way to do Vikruti-Prakruti. And when he does Jyotish, he doesn't just do your chart, he does the family chart, because he can see you in your mother's chart and in your husband's chart. And it's interesting, so he gets a compilation of your family's chart when he reads your chart. What else did he say? Oh, let's discuss how he writes it. So he has a formula, and you might have already seen that, but he will write it. Let me do it here. He'll say, here's, for example, my Prakriti. He wrote it as a capital V, 1. The 1 was always sort of like a sub was below, but I can't do that with the type, with this typesetting. It's on the same line as the V, but the way he wrote it on the chalkboard was a V with a 1 at the sort of at the a little lower than the V. There's a word for that, subline or whatever. And then the P was a 3, and then the K, what was capital K, was a 2. So that is how he wrote. Let me just give a space so that makes it more readable. There, so that's how he wrote everybody's Prakriti, right? And that was spelled at the bottom level, the 7th layer of my pulse. And I often go in there and feel it, and sometimes I go down too deep, and there's an 8th layer, and that's your mother's layer. So I can feel my mother in my own pulse at the very bottom layer, the 8th layer, and then that's when that's my own way of finding my bottom, my rock bottom. I find my mother's pulse with my kapha finger feels like a little bit of a spike here. And she is a kapha lady. She has a lot of kapha. So she also ate a lot of sweets when she was pregnant with me, which is why kapha spike. I can feel my mom through the kapha finger. And then I come up just a teeny weeny. And that is my 7th layer, where I can feel 3 points here in the middle of my, or actually I feel 2 in the middle of my pitta finger, and then I feel 1 in the middle of my kapha finger. So that counts as 3 for pitta. 1, 2, 3. So you know this 3 sections at the end of each. So vata pitta kapha, vata pitta kapha, vata pitta kapha. And so when I feel 2 in the middle here, I've got 2 points as Prakriti so far, but I felt another one in the kapha finger in the middle on the pitta side, which gives me my 3rd point for Prakriti for pitta, which is why he said I'm a pitta lady, because 3 is as much as you can go. He doesn't give a 4. Only in a Vikruti will he give a 4, but in the Prakriti, the highest number value he'd give is a 3. And then he determined I had 1 point in Vata, in the Prakriti, and 2 points in Kapha. and I can feel that in my 7th layer. Then he goes up to the highest layer, the very top surface layer, and he can feel the spikes coming in through the pulse, as well as the quality of the pulse. And he gave me this Vikruti. At the time now, that changes, right? That's the only thing that's changeable. The other ones are not necessarily changeable. So we have Vata 1. So Vata was home, Pitta was high, and Kapha was just 1 point. So that in 1997 was my Vikruti. So he measures Prakriti and Vikruti against one another before he gives Chikitsa. And Chikitsa is Sanskrit for management protocols. Okay, so that means I have 1 whole point up in excess of the dosha of Pitta at that time. So I wouldn't be surprised if I had very similar Vikruti at the moment, but that can change. I can have a little bit more Vata now because I'm in the Vata stage of life, or just approaching the Vata stage of life. Does anyone have any questions on that?
I do, Karyn. So when I was in the ABS class and Kim took my pulse, she wrote, the Vata 3, Pitta, Kapha 1. And then the Vikruti she wrote down as a plus. So it was...
type in what she wrote so I can have a visual.
Okay. Let me see if I can do that.
Oh, I never clicked the enter button so nobody could see what I was talking about. I just did it now so you can see what I was talking about. Sorry. Okay, so there's Nikki's Vata 3, Pitta 3, Kapha 1, and that is your Vikruti?
Yes.
Okay, so that wouldn't mean anything to me until I got the Prakriti, so I wouldn't know like what is off in you. Maybe you were born with a Prakriti of the same.
And then I just typed in the Prakriti.
Oh, let's see. Vata 3, Pitta 3, Kapha 1. So that means you have no imbalance.
That sounds, what does the 3 mean, or the plus mean then?
Oh, you're putting the pluses in not to create space, but to actually show me what, okay, so she's not giving a value. She didn't give you a value. She just said it's a little bit. So Dr. Ladd would usually do a 0.5 if it was just slightly in excess. And if it was massively, and not massively because you're near death massively, but, seriously, you need to reduce, the dosha. He would give a whole point. So instead of a 3, it'd be a 4. So she's doing something similar. So I would see that, and I would imagine, I don't know this, but I would imagine that Kimberly would write a 4 if it was a full point. If it was just a half a point, I'm guessing it's just a 0.5. So you're just slightly, your Vata and your Pitta are slightly out of balance, and the Kapha is home.
Okay, yeah. Because for some people, she had 2 plus signs or 3 plus signs. One person was even a 4 instead of a 2, and their Vikruti was a 2, and their Prakriti was a 2. Their Vikruti was a 4. Does that make sense?
So the Prakriti was a 2 and the Vikruti was a 4?
Correct. On someone else. So
that's a 2 point. I've never seen Dr. Ladd go up 2 points. That's near death.
Oh,
maybe
okay.
It was just 1 point. Just a full point from 3 to 4 would be how maybe he's changing his ways. That was in 1997. Although I've taken his classes right up to 2010, the last NAMA conference, he still did it with the numerical values. I never saw the plus signs, but that could be something new. But a whole point is as much as I've ever seen him give anyone over a whole point. I think he would be very concerned about. Can't have one dosha that excessive and still be well enough to be in a class.
I see. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. Hope that helped.
It does. It's been a mystery for a few months.
Okay, so then what are you doing now? You're doing a Vata Pitta soothing diet?
I am.
Good.
Yeah, it's working.
Good. Okay. Hi, Karyn Dowell.
Hi guys, how are you? Sorry, I'm struggling in.
That's okay. I'm so glad you made it. Doesn't matter, you're late, you're here.
I know, I miss you guys.
Oh, I'm happy you're here.
Me too.
So we went over some practice on Sahana Vavatu, just to catch you up. And
Okay.
Renee sent over the breakdown of Sahana Vavatu as well as the YouTube on it. So if you ever want to leave it on in the background while you're doing your dishes or brushing your teeth, I just walked around and sang it. I put it in my car. I just, you have to do that. It's just like learning the alphabet. Just gotta keep practicing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome. And actually, this is a very auspicious chant. I didn't tell you, but this chant actually propitiates all 5 elements.
Mhm.
So it balances Vata, Pitta, Kapha through the earth, fire, water, ether, air. So that was pretty interesting. And then we discussed all the many paths up the mountain, Karyn. So we talked about how there really is no one right path up the mountain to determine Prakriti, and there's a lot of magic and knowledge. So Vidya, and that's why some of the doctors in India are called Vaidya's, because the root is Vidya, and some of them are just Ayurvedic doctors, however you want to call them, but the Vaidya's combine the magic and the knowledge, which is what Vidya means. So with that magic, it leaves lots of room for many paths up the mountain to determine somebody's Prakriti and Vikruti. And I stopped judging those paths. Some of them were absolutely crazy sounding, and I gave some examples of some crazy ways that, a Western doctor would laugh at. Somebody with a logical mind, some military person who was all linear would think that was crazy. But you can't judge until you look at the fruits, or the proof is in the pudding. And the people that I watched, observed the results and given chikitsa management, and their life unfolded, and they actually had a transformation. So that's what matters to me, was that there was a transformation. I don't care what direction they went up the mountain, as long as they received what they came for and achieved a better health. Then I stopped judging all the magical ways that some of these Vaidya's and doctors and great masters were determining Prakriti and Vikruti. And then there are traditional paths too, like the pulse diagnosis is the most popular, and there's Jyotish, and there's tongue diagnosis, nails, there's urine diagnosis, fecal diagnosis, the whole body diagnosis, so many ways to analyze and diagnose the body that you need to determine as Ayurvedic practitioners which one of them, or several, really suit you. Like where's your gift? And not everybody has the same gift, right? So mine was, I'm pretty good at pulse. I remember I was at a pulse workshop with Dr. Ladd. It's like 2002. I went back and I did like a 7-day course with him on mastering the pulse, and I graduated in 97, and there was about 200 people, and he broke everyone out into groups of 5. And it was a pretty big hallway. We were in a Marriott kind of place, and I was in the back with all these people, and I was feeling a pulse, and I had no idea that Dr. Ladd was right behind me. No idea. So I was just totally not nervous at all, because why should I be? I didn't know he was right behind me. And I was really in my groove, and I was feeling someone's pulse, and I gave the formula VPK, and then the numbers. And Dr. Ladd put his hand on my shoulder, and he said, "Oh, she is my star student. This is very correct." And I'm like, "Oh my God, he just improved my pulse taking," because he had just done that person's pulse at the break, so he knew her pulse, and he was waiting secretly to see what I was going to say, and I had no idea I was being watched. But then when he patted my back, I can't tell you how elated I floated through the class. The rest of the class, I was just floating. Still, I can just feel him there telling me he's proud of me. So I'm sharing that with you because, you know, sometimes you don't know. Sometimes you need to have somebody behind you to say that was right, because it's such a very subtle science that you're only as good as your guess, right? There's not a person there to say, oh yeah, that's right. It's really nice to have another person who is a master to confirm that you did that correctly, which is why when we all get together in Yogaville, we're going to have groups, and we're all going to feel each other's pulse, and I'm going to be right behind you, and I'm going to feel the Prakriti and Vikruti of everybody, and we're going to see just how accurate everybody is. So you can have a barometer and a starting place and a way to guide yourself. Now, I will say that sometimes there is room for error because we're all human. And I've had other Vaidya's feel my pulse and give me a different reading than Dr. Ladd. But I've also gone to Dr. Ladd 3, 4, 5, 6, probably 10, 20 times. Could be because I was on break. Many times during class, I'd go up to him and he'd feel my pulse just to tell me why I was having a, dry eyes or stomach ache or whatever it was. He would tell me, and he always came up with the same Prakriti. He never varied it, and he had so many different students that I thought there's just no way that this could just be a coincidence that he's guessing my Prakriti right every time. So there's no. It was a science. So at that point, I realized this was math. Yes, there's magic, but he had my Prakriti down, and there was never any time that he varied and said, oh, kapha 3. No, it was always kapha 2. The only thing that varied was my Vikruti, which, it should vary according to my, maybe I moved or broke up with someone, or I was sick or didn't sleep or whatever it was. That Vikruti is changeable. But my point is, when we feel each other's pulse together in Yogaville, there may be, if I didn't sleep, I don't travel that well. It takes me a while to acclimate, and the older I get, just more Vata sets in, and I have, to ground. And so I expect Yogaville, I won't be as grounded as I would be as if you came to my home. Because here I am in my home, I'm grounded, Vata is settled, and my pulse reading is pretty good here. In other settings, I've noticed my pulse reading can be a little off, but I do the best I can do with what I have. So I'm going to do everything I can to be as grounded as I can to help you all determine your Prakriti and Vikruti, and then we'll have Dr. Munira, hopefully she's coming, and Gowri will be there, and Maliji, and Renee, and we'll have other masters at the pulse. And we'll all take turns exploring that and feeling the quality of the pulse, not just Vikruti and Prakriti, and feeling the Dhatu level, which is at the 5th level. And so we'll have a lot of fun with the pulse. That's really fun. And we'll do some tongue diagnosis and some nail diagnosis and see which, who has ama on what finger, and how strong are the organs. This is the kidney, this is the heart and small intestine. So we can see the strength of the organs through the fingernails. We can see the strength of the lungs if the nails go like beak down. So much determine if they're, anemia, if the nail beds don't bounce back pink if you press on them, and they bounce back white. We're going to do a lot together as a group so we can assess and ascertain everybody's imbalances and their Prakriti that doesn't change, like curly hair, strong jaw, a button nose, blue eyes, kapha skin, round face. You can see the planets in the face. It's really fun. I love looking at people's faces and seeing who has Saturn, who has Jupiter, who has a moon face. And then you can assign the doshas to the planets, and it's pretty powerful. So that's my story about Vikruti and Prakruti, and I was just catching you up, Karyn, but I went off on a tangent. But let's ask questions, open it up to whoever has a question about Vikruti and Prakruti right now, and then we can go into other questions. Maybe I can help you with other things in your health. That's what I'm here for today, to sort of personalize it because we have a small group. So any questions? Welcome. Anybody? No questions?
Well, you know what? I have to catch up on some of the pulse stuff. And so I don't know, like, I don't want to go too deep if it's off the topic, you know what I mean? But the difference of finding it within the pulse when you're taking it, is it because the Vikruti is more the deeper level of the pulse? Because I need to catch up on the pulse stuff too.
Okay, so that's okay. It's definitely something that takes time to learn, and it's a subtle science. And I have had people that in my class in 1997 who just could not get this, just couldn't figure it out, but they were amazing at looking, darshan, to see the body type. They were great at the tongue and the nails, and they could assess Prakriti other ways, but they couldn't get the pulsing. So don't attach yourself to, I must be a good pulse reader. Really, I've seen amazing people doing Ayurveda who just don't have the gift in the fingertips, and that's okay because there's so many ways to do it. But yes, the Vikruti is at the very top layer. So right here you've got the little bone. See if I can do it here. So, when I do my own pulse, I go right under the bone, and you can't really see because I can't turn my fingers. Can you see it? So, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, they go right underneath the bone, and you just go to the very top layer. You all want to do that. Very top layer. Come up to the very top where you feel nothing, and then go down just a smidge, and you might feel, and make sure all the fingers are pressing at the same time, and you might feel the pulse in one of the fingers. And I had a cup of tea.
I feel the first one, when I do it like this, I always feel it with my middle finger.
No, put all three fingers, because you're a nurse, so you have to retrain your neural pathways into being a nurse. You've taken the pulse a different way. So this is the Ayurvedic way to do it, is you turn your fingers so you get the most sensitivity right at the top here.
Yes, I do it like that all the time. But
Okay.
I feel I don't feel anything on my index finger. I do feel something on the middle finger, and then I feel something very little on my, what would you call that, the ring finger.
Kapha finger.
Really on the middle finger that I feel it.
The first finger, you feel it on?
No, nothing.
Nothing. So you're very Pitta Vikruti. That tells me you have a Pitta,
Yes.
potential Pitta imbalance. So there's some inflammation.
This is exactly what Gauri tells me.
Yeah, Gauri's very good. Gauri's coming with us to Yogaville, so she's going to help us all with our pulse. We're going to have
Yes.
so much fun with her. She is such a ball of,
Because she's treating me. She's treating me with homeopathic, and this is exactly what she tells me.
Good, yes. So you have Pitta imbalance, and she usually is pretty on. She's actually very medical intuitive. Her gift is medical intuition. She's.
So how do we go to the second layer and the fourth layer, whatever you're talking about? Because I don't find those layers. I keep looking at Dr. Dalad's videos, and I keep practicing, but I'm lost somewhere.
It's very difficult to do this pulsing. I'm debating on not even having it for the next class because it's really kinesthetic. It's very difficult to teach a pulse online. So we need to be this with each other to learn it. So here we are with the top layer, and Indu, you're very top light layer you felt in the middle finger, the Pitta finger.
Yes.
Okay, now we're gonna, and this gets a little deeper, we could even ask you what part of the finger, but we're not gonna go there. We're gonna now cut the vessel off, press very hard. I'm squeezing, I'm pushing hard so I feel nothing.
Yes.
And then I'm going to lift up lightly, 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 and find my first little tiny pulse. And mine, where's yours? Mine is Pitta. Pitta Vata. I don't feel my mom in this one. I usually can feel her.
I feel it on the middle finger and on my ring finger.
Whew. Okay, so you're a very Pitta lady. Vikruti-Prakruti, Vikruti-Prakruti. So listen to Gauri and take that. Is it Aurorum Metallicum? Aurorum Metallicum, if she's got you on?
Oh, I have her meds. I don't know the name. She's given me 3 and I take them every day.
Good girl, yeah. And one of them is probably the AUR, I can never say it, Aurorum Metallicum. It's for Pitta, high Pitta. It will cool you down and she'll probably put you on some Shatadri and some Triphala. So you need to cool down and sit by cool water.
I'm on a diet. She's put me even on a diet, so I eat that diet.
You should be on Pitta diet, yes, especially now we're in the summer.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so glad you talked with her.
Yeah.
Good. So we all need to jump in the cold water in the cove, and that's the best way to cure your Pitta.
Okay.
Cold water.
I'll that someday.
Dr. Ladd said, if you're ever fighting with your wife, the best thing to do is stop the fighting and put cold water on your head. Dump cold water on your head, and then you no longer want to fight with your wife. Pitta will be no longer a problem. So you should just have a water gun of cold water and spray cold water at each other when you're fighting. And you know what he used to do? He said he would do left nostril breathing. As soon as his wife would start to piss him off, he would do this. Secretly, just start breathing through the left nostril, and then anything she would say would just come down a little, like a notch. It wouldn't disturb his Pitta. So all kinds of funny little tips he gave us to how to just keep Pitta home, because you can notice when you're about to argue with someone, you need to start taking your clothes off. At least I do, and you'll take the scarf off. I mean, I just start to get into your Pitta lady, so you can probably notice you start to get your body temperature raises, your face turns red, nose turns red, ears turn red. When you start to get a little aggravated, you're driving, maybe road rage, or you're in a class and you're trying to learn something and it's passionate, it's a passionate topic, you can start getting hot. All of these activities are Pitta. So being a Pitta lady, you need to observe those things in you and keep the Pitta down. So any other questions about the pulse?
No, I think it's just practice.
Okay.
I just want to differentiate again. So like if I'm feeling my pulse in the first layer, I can feel myself as the Vata, Pitta, Kapha. And then I go down a little bit more and it's so prominent that it changes definitely and it turns to the Pitta, Vata, Kapha. So what does that differentiate? Is that showing that that's the Prakriti is more the second layer?
Good question. Yes. So the Prakriti is the bottom layer, it's the 7th layer, the lowest layer. There is our 8th layer that you can go back even further into the womb, your mother. But the very top layer is your current imbalance.
When we feel it very lightly at first and we pick up on it, the pulse initially, that very first layer that we feel, that's more the, that's our initial right now, Vikruti.
That's right. That's your current imbalance.
That's current,
It's changeable. Yeah, and it's right now. You know, the weather, what you just ate. I just had a cup of tea, chai, and it stimulated my Agni. So I have a little bit of jumping pulse, a little froggy jumping in my pulse, and very Pitta-like quality. And then if you go to your Prakriti, it doesn't usually change because that's your 7th layer, and that is what was determined when the sperm met the egg. That is like the moment of conception, that your formula that I wrote, you can see mine and I see Heidi's is VPK. Is that your Prakriti, Heidi? That is V3P2K1. Are you a Vata 3? Or is that your Vikruti, Heidi? Looks like that's your Vikruti because you're saying you're today. Today means Vikruti because it's current. So if that means you have 3 points in Vata, it says data deranged. So I'm going to say it's Vata deranged. It must mean that your Prakriti was Vata 2 and you went up a whole point to Vata 3. And that is, Karyn, that's to answer your question. Yes, it could go up a whole point from the top layer to the deepest layer, top layer to deepest. So layer 1 to layer 7. Measuring layer 1 and measuring layer 7 is where we get the imbalance. Like, what is it exactly that we are imbalanced with? What dosha is in excess? And I'm just guessing that Heidi, correct me if I'm wrong, has a Vikruti, which is the top layer, current imbalance of Vata 3, Pitta 2, Kapha 1. So, oh no, I could be wrong because you need to have 3 points in one of them. So 3 points in one of them. I can't tell if that's your Vikruti or Prakriti, Heidi, so I don't even want to use that as an example.
Oh, my Prakriti was Pit, blah, 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 Vata deranged. Vata, highest, most intensity in Vata, second intensity in Pitta, and the least amount in Kapha. Did I transpose that? Should it be Vata 1, P2, Kapha 3 then? Did I get that backwards?
I'm just going to guess. I'm pretty good at guessing pulses at this point. And I know your astrology, so I have the Jyotish. And I know you pretty well.
That's you.
We had 7 days with you together. That was so fun. Let me put together what I think is Vikruti and Prakriti for you.
Okay.
So here would be your Prakriti, I'm guessing. Oops, hold on. I'm typing. Oh.
Karyn?
Okay.
Karyn?
Yeah.
If Heidi's open to it, can you also talk about how you're going to bring her chart into it?
Sure.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. You know that. That's my true love.
Fabulous.
What?
That's fabulous. I'm open to it. Absolutely.
All right. Let's make sure that I understand. How did you get P2?
P2, my pitta finger was the second in line for intensity. So it was, my Vata finger was very, very strong. My Pitta finger feeling was second strongest, and Kapha was the least amount.
Okay. That makes sense. So let me do this correctly. I'm typing. Okay, so if you were born with
and that's exactly what okay, click.
Hold on a second. This is your Vikruti. So okay, so this is what I'm guessing is what is going on with you. So the Prakriti you were born with was just 1 point in Vata, and you were born. Oops, the 3.5 shouldn't be there. Can I don't know how to edit that. Can't edit that. Well, take the 3.5 out. I usually write Prakriti first, so I did it backwards for you. So let me do it the way I like to do it.
Okay.
So Prakriti is V1, P3, K. One. I think you have 2 points. 2 points here. Okay, so there's your Prakriti. And hold on a second. Let me go to Vikruti. That would be B would be 2.5, and P would be 3.5, maybe 4. I don't know, but I think probably not. And then your kapha is home. So there's a possibility that Vikruti is up a whole point, but I'm giving it just a half a point right now. Okay. There it is. So scratch the top ones, because I did it kind of backwards. I usually do the Prakriti first, because we always measure against who is she? That's what that is. What's she made of? Prakriti. And then we assess what's going on currently. And I put that on the bottom, so that's sort of my MO, and I did it backwards, so a little mind confusion. So scratch that. The second one with the Prakriti and Vikruti on the straight line, that is what I think is going on with you, Heidi. You have a 0.5 up and 0.5 up in both Vata and Pitta.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Kapha's home. Kapha's home. Yes. So I hope that helps.
It does. Thank you so much. And thank you, Karyn, darling. Hello, miss you too. Because that was my exact question. And going through this with you, Karyn, it really brought it all home. Click.
Good.
Yes.
I'm so glad.
Yes. Okay.
So to answer Nikki's question is my most favorite question, because I'm so passionate about Jyotish, because you've got the right birth time. You can do this without even feeling the pulse. You have to make sure the right birth time, that's the pinch on Jyotish, and it's the only thing that keeps me from really investing everything into it, because I'm frustrated when I see a client and they give me a birth time that just, maybe, and then I spend an hour to 2, and sometimes I'm not even sure on rectification, and my goal is to get rectification down so I can find the exact time. Then, only then, can we use the Jyotish chart for assessing Prakriti and Vikruti. So, for example, with Heidi, the way her chart would look, and I don't have her, I could pull the chart up, but I just don't want to pull it up now, but I'm going to give you an example of what somebody who has Prakriti of Vata 2 would probably mean. She has Vata planets in the first house, at least, if she had Mars, and say she had Saturn. So Mars and Saturn are both Vata. Mars is Vata Pitta and Saturn's all Vata. That would give rise to 2 points in her Prakriti. So you can find 2 planets. I'm just going, it's more to it than this. It's not that simple. But just an example, the first house is the whole body. There's 12 houses. So the first house represents the whole body. And I can usually see a Prakriti somewhere in the first house. And then, I look at the Lord of the house, the ascendant. I look to see where the ascendant went to, what house did it go to, and then who are his friends, or her friends hanging around. Is Venus in there? Who's in that house? And then we look at the nakshatra, and is the nakshatra fiery? The lunar mansion that the ascendant sits in. There's lots of ways to assess the doshas in general, but I'm going to give you just a nutshell snippet of how to use the Jyotish. So looking at the planets, we're just going to say simple. Saturn and Mars are in the first house. There's her 2 points in Vata. And then she has 3 points. She was born with 3 points in Pitta. So we'll say that the ascendant, let's say she has Scorpio ascendant, which would be Mars, lordship. And Mars is Vata Pitta. And it's sitting in her first house, or no, let's just say, it's sitting in her first house, and then we look at the sun, and the sun is sitting in Leo, and in the house of Leo, the 5th house, and it's aspecting 7 houses away into her first house. That gives her more pitta. So there's her pitta 3. The sun aspects in, it's in Leo, which would be swa, which means it's in its own sign, and it's shining onto Mars, which increases Mars fire. So there gives her more pitta. And then we'll say it's in the nakshatra of Kritika, and Kritika is Agni, the lord of Kritika. The nakshatra is Lord Agni. So let's just put all that together for this pitta 3 lady. She's got this nakshatra that's steamy hot, and she's got Mars, lord of her chart, vata pitta, and she's got the sun shining and reflecting with the key right into that first house. And then she has just 1 point in kapha. We'll say she has to have 1 point in kapha. We'll say Jupiter is a kapha planet, and the Jupiter is, in a vata pitta sign. We'll say it's in, it's in Libra, which is a vata pitta sign. Or no, it's in a, it's in Mars, so Scorpio. What's the other one? Aries. We'll say her Jupiter is in Aries, which gives some more fire to her Jupiter, keeping it at 1 point, because Aries is fiery, and it lit up her cold Jupiter, so it's not that cold, which gives her 1 point. So that's how there's a lot of magic, and there's an art to this, so it's not all science. And there's not one way to say, oh, it has to be this, but you have to, it's called confluence, and confluence is all the layers that you look at. Where's the ascendant? Who is the ascendant? Where does the ascendant fall? Who's aspecting or looking into the ascendant? What nakshatras are they sitting in? What are the lords of the nakshatras? Is it fiery lord? Is it a cold lord? Like that. So all of that comes into medical astrology. Does that answer your question, Nikki, to some degree? Did I confuse you more?
It was Renee.
Renee? Oh, I thought Nikki was asking. Okay. Yeah, so Renee, did
I
you?
always have that.
What's that?
Oh, sorry. That's something, I've been wondering about those things.
Okay, you were wondering about that. Okay, yeah. So I'm going to teach a class on medical astrology and how to use Jyotish match up with your pulse, and we'll talk about that in Yogaville too, because Gowrie is also my little Jyotish friend, and we're both going to be pulling out our charts, because that's all we do when we're together is just pull out charts and geek out with Jyotish. So we'll be geeking out with Jyotish in Yogaville after everyone's done pulse taking and tongue and nail and body analysis and filling out the profiles. She and I are going to whip out the charts and just confirm everything that we saw in the charts, because that's what we do now. And then we'll be happy to, we won't be able to teach how to do that during the 4 days, but I'm going to be leading a Jyotish, probably a whole year on medical Jyotish. And just in general, Jyotish is so much fun beyond medical, because you can determine so much more than medical through Jyotish. What are your gifts, and where are you going, where have you been, who are you, what's your dharma, and all of that gives rise to your mental Vikruti, your physical Prakruti. So it's the whole body in the chart. Okay, so that was Renee's question, or Vicky, was that your question, Nikki?
No, it was mine. It was Renee's. I was looking over some of your handouts this morning, and it's just so integrated. I was just wondering how it all comes into play.
Okay, I'm looking at my screen to see who that was. That was you, and you would love to learn this. I bet you'd be good at this.
I would. I think we all would, or most of us.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Actually, I don't know necessarily Indu's chart, but I've seen Nikki, Karyn, and
You don't have my chart.
Oh, that's right. That's why I haven't seen it. I've seen those other 3 charts, and you all have a gift. There's a gift in your chart, and I forget what it was exactly, but I remember thinking, oh my gosh, these students would be great Jyotishis. And one of the signs of
that so much, and I know we all do. And what I love the most about all this is because of all our wisdom and knowledge, but the aspect of the magic and the intuition aspect is what is so refreshing. You know what I mean? Because like for 25 years practicing, what have you, it's all I've ever done. And like you said, when you're around it so much and you just do it and you put it into it and you start to learn yourself and you're learning other people through the energies and through the, you know, really just the magic of it all. And then it gets confirmed by an absolute, say, medicalness of it. That kind of stuff makes my head spin to begin with, and I don't even want to play in that world. So I like to play in the magic and the intuition. And then isn't it fun to say, yeah, you nailed it? You know what I mean? So that if someone says it has to be that way, it doesn't have to be that way. We come to it through these ways. And you come to it through those ways, and isn't it funny? Boom, they come the same, you know?
Yes, I love that.
Is just because I love the magic and the intuition so much. And, you know, where other people might really, that's foo-foo so much to them and it makes their head spin, you know? So that's the balance in all of us. But that's what I love so much, and I just wanted to put my 2 cents in over it because and I do want to go down the rabbit hole with you with way more, you know, Jyotish and way more of that with all of this, you know, how it all comes about. So that's it for now, loves. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that passion for the magic piece. I'm all about the magic with you. And I think it's your gift too. Now, I can't remember where your Mercury was, but I remember when you left after a session, I thought, this is a goddess that it works well in the realms of metaphysics and magic. I remember thinking that about you. And I don't even need to see your chart to do that. Just knowing you, you're a woman of the magic. So you would do really well learning Jyotish. You would love it, I think. You would be passionate about it. So that's maybe the next step. But that's my next chapter after I sell the school, is I'm just immersing myself in the Jyotish. And the cards always line up with the Jyotish.
Yes,
so the cards are so accurate. And you can also see, if you all want to know this, Mercury is the intellect, it's the buddhi, it's the ego kind of, it's your consciousness. And where is your Mercury? That's a good question if you look in your Jyotish chart, because the intellect, it tells us where does your mind wander to? How does your mind work? Like, does your mind bend that way? For me, my Mercury is in the 8th house. It's the 8th house of magic in the Veda, but it's also the 8th house of transformation and moksha, but death, darkness, disappearance, despair. Other people's money, we'll take that. And it's a house of the Veda, the house of magic. Mysteries of life and death is the 8th house. And it's the house of moksha because it is how we can get to enlightenment, because it's a house of adversity. It's a challenged house. They call it Dushtan Bhava. Bhava meaning house, Dushtan meaning challenge. So there's 3 Dushtan Bhavas, and the 8th house is where my Mercury sits. So that means my mind bends in the direction of magic. It bends in the direction of the Veda. I naturally think that way. So it's very difficult for my mind to be at a cocktail party listening to baloney politics. I could care less about the Red Sox, honestly. And I just, my mind actually hurts to be forced into fields of living that it's not comfortable in. So when I find another sister like you, Karyn Dowell, or Heidi, or any of you, and I can talk about the Veda and topics of magic and wisdom and you know, omenology and just all of the miracles that unfold in a daily way that have no logic to it, that just bring more light into our lives. That is where my mind is comfortable. Well, you know, I have to go into the other fields of living to run my life and to run my school and to, you know, put up with people at the country club and the, you know, lovely people, but just sometimes the conversation bores me. And now you learn tools of, I can, talk a little bit about Trump, and I can talk a little bit about what's going on in the Middle East. So I have a couple of things to say, but honestly, I can't, I'm not comfortable talking that way. And it used to be a pinch for me that I didn't understand why I wasn't interested, and why can't I contribute to this conversation in the way that everybody else is, going at it with, how many times did the Red Sox win? I don't know. And how, things that are just not interesting to me is simply because I don't have my intellect in that field of living. And that, to me, was such an affirmation to understand. It's called Svadhyaya. It's one of the niyamas, and it is self-study. So looking at my chart helped me to forgive myself and to understand myself, and to know who I am and who I'm not, has given me so much peace and empowered me to a place that I no longer feel like I am insecure or inferior because I can't hold a conversation in all these other fields of living the way other people can. You never compare yourself to people anyways, but we do. So now I get it. I just have Mercury, my intellect, in the 8th house. So there it is. So where's your Mercury? If you open your charts and find out where does your mind bend, what do you love to think about? That field of living is probably a very comfortable place for you to spend your time thinking about those things, and that's okay, because that's what you wrote for. Any questions on that? Do you all have your charts? If you don't, and you want to see your chart, email me. I'll try to send you your chart, and you can look where your Mercury is, because it was really eye-opening for me to find out where my Mercury was, to help me understand why I think the way I think. So let's talk more about Prakriti and Vikruti. Any questions about your Prakriti and Vikruti, and what diet and lifestyle you're exploring right now, and where you think your Vikruti is? Do you want to talk about that, or do you have a health concern that I might be able to shed some light on?
I have a question about something in the textbook.
Okay.
It says right at the beginning of the chapter that Prakriti does not change except in rare cases.
Yeah.
And I'm stuck on that. Can you?
Yeah. Okay, so Barbara, actually, my friend Barbara that I told you about, who went to school with me to Dr. Ladd's class, her Prakriti changed 0.5. Dr. Ladd even said so. So she did some radical changes to her life, her diet, her whole way of living. She went through, I don't remember the exact things that she did specifically, but I remember she wasn't the same person she went through. So her boyfriend died. He drowned in the Ganges River, and there were some tragedies that occurred, and she unplugged her refrigerator and she went off the grid, and she just ate fresh foods, and it lived in a way that she had never lived before. She went to an ashram and she studied Sanskrit. She became a Sanskrit scholar and wrote the Sanskrit book for the Ayurvedic Institute. They have her book right now and use it as the main book, because Barbara was so immersed and so gifted at Sanskrit. And in that process of losing Peter in the Ganges River, unplugging a refrigerator, eating only prana foods filled with prana, fresh foods, because she didn't believe in the refrigerator, and chanting Sanskrit every day, because it's the language of nature, changed who she was. And when she went back to work at the Ayurvedic Institute, she worked there as a teacher, Sanskrit teacher, after she graduated with me. Her Prakriti was 0.5. So not everybody goes through such a transformation. Some people do, but there is room for that. Does that make sense? Okay, yeah. Okay, any other questions?
Nikki, which chapter are you looking at?
Chapter 7.
In which book? The first book or the second book?
Book 2.
Book 2. Let me take that.
And so, Karyn, would that also affect your chart? Would you see the reflection of that in your chart?
Yeah, actually, it's a great question. So we have a natal chart called the D9. The D9 does not change. None of these charts change, but we express through our D9 for most of our lives. And then we have sort of a, I guess you could call it a more subtle self that is reflected in the Navamsha chart. And the Navamsha I'll spell. There's the Navamsha chart that the Navamsha chart, we'll just leave it like that, is a spousal chart, and usually around age 50. I'm just saying 50, but it's not 50 set in stone. It's when you have made lemonade out of your lemons. It's when you have arrived, when you have been able to thank the demons in your life, when you've been able to rise above the Dushtan Baba houses, when you are, living in your highest self, walking your truth and doing your dharma, then you start to express from your Navamsha chart. And the Navamsha chart is sort of like a second chance. I call it your second chance. If you didn't like your natal chart, you didn't like the karmas that you came in with, you get a second chart that if you earn it through your work, your inner work, you can actually start to live from your Navamsha. If you like your Navamsha, hopefully you like your Navamsha. I like my Navamsha. It's not perfect. If I could make my perfect chart, that would be so cool. And I'm working on that actually as a hobby. I'm creating one that I dream to be. Maybe I could transcend all my charts. But what happened with Barbara is that she decided to express from Navamsha at an early age. And I'm not surprised because Barbara actually was asked to teach college at age 16. She was a genius. She scored 100% on her SATs. So she, who gets asked to teach college at age 16? She, is an avid reader. You should see how well she writes. She writes the column for the Ayurvedic. She's still like the best writer at the Ayurvedic Institute. She has, if you get their newsletters, Barbara Cook is the writer, one of the authors consistently in the newsletter. So with her brilliance and her genius, she gets an early hit or opportunity at things. For some reason, that's probably in her chart, and I don't know what that yoga would look like, but to be asked to sort of grow up and become a college professor at age 16, and then, all of a sudden go through these adversities of, the death of Peter, and then, living only on chronic foods and no refrigerated foods, and living Sanskrit, only speaking Sanskrit, nothing else, immersing herself in the science of nature. Yes, her Prakriti changed around 30, 35, maybe 30, and she started expressing from Navamsha at that point. So that is how her rest of her life is in Navamsha. Early. I saw myself expressing through a Navamsha about 2 years ago. So I was like 50, 51. Could have been sooner, but it's about that age that I notice most people are able to forgive their enemies and make lemonade out of lemons, and they stop holding grudges, and they're more loving, and their actions are aligned with their words, and they're in their dharma. They're not wondering, oh, what am I going to be when I grow up? Or they're really self-actualized individuals that start to express from Navamsha. And then we vastly.
Is it maturity that takes you there?
Yes, it's maturity. So it's an earned situation. You don't just get to,
No.
express from your navamsha because you're 50. You can't, it's not about that. That's why it's not numerical, but I'm saying around 50, when I get somebody in as a client, I start to wonder, do I look at their natal chart or should I look at their navamsha? And then there's some people that I just know are not interested in evolution, not interested in maturity, more interested in being a victim, more interested in, complaining and whining and whatever it is that they're doing, or more aggressive people, or, more rajasic, tamasic type of personalities that never get to their navamsha. And it's okay, no judgment. They don't want to become enlightened. So they stay in their natal chart, which is fine. But as an astrologer, you need to know what chart to pull from. Like who's your client? Who's sitting in front of you? Is she someone that is enlightened? Is she someone that is more mature? Then I would make predictions based on navamsha for that person. That make sense?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other personal questions about choosing your diet and lifestyle, yoga? I just started making kefir. I don't know if that's interesting for anybody. It's changed my life. So.
How is that going? How long did it take for you to the culture to make a baby?
Oh, let me go get it. It's sitting on the stove. I put it in a warm spot under the light of the stove. Ooh. And I will show you the jar and explain it to you and send you handouts on it. It's changed my digestion and changed my energy levels. It's better than any digestive enzyme you could ever take. These are alive, and they're like my little friends. They're little creatures that are growing. I feel like I have like a tadpole collection of, these live little fun little creatures that I watch bubbling in the water, and I feed them like little dates and little pieces of ginger. I'm having so much fun. Like I have fish or something. Give me a second. I'll go get it.
Oh, that is so cool. Huh.
Is that water kefir? Heidi, you're muted.
I am?
Oh, no, I know you're talking.
I don't know if it's water kefir. I would love to start fermenting. I've dabbled in kombucha, which I love. But I don't have anything currently going.
Okay, so here is my kefir. It's water kefir. It's not milk, but you can see on the bottom, they're little kefir grains. They're accumulated at the bottom. And I got them from someone named Dawn Parente, who lives just, I don't know, like 30, 40 minutes away. And she makes kefir and she teaches this classes on kefir. And I went to her home and she, for just $10, I bought the live cultures from her. She gave me this bottle and she put them at the bottom and just gave me some water. And I came home and I had to keep them alive and feed them. So when I got home, I added, this is my third batch, by the way. So what I did is I
do with this?
I drink it. Oh my gosh, I drink this. I love this. It's delicious. And it is so, if you're really thirsty, it's quenching. You just want to drink the whole bottle. It's sweet, and yet it's got a bite, so it's fermented. And at the top here, you see my little, oops, I'm gonna tighten this up. They're French plums, organic French plums, and I have some ginger in there too. And I think I put a little piece of lemon in there, and I might even put some chia seeds in the next batch. But you can use anything. You can use bananas or put an apple. You can have apple kefir. You can have blueberry kefir. This is kefir water. You flavor it with whatever you want, but they eat the sugar. And it becomes a fermented drink. And these bacillus and acidophilus and all of these strains of bacteria that actually colonize in your intestines. And when you eat your meal after they've colonized, it gives your food a platform to digest on. And so many of us are undernourished and have leaky gut syndrome and aren't getting full amount of vitamins and minerals from our food. Pitta has trouble with this digestive process, so does Vata. And so does Kapha, though. Kapha has slow digestion. This will speed it right up. But if you do too much of it for Pitta, it can cause Pitta imbalance because it's fermented. But those people with high Pitta, may have trouble with digestion. And this, I have high Pitta, has actually helped my digestion in moderation. So, yeah.
Karyn, how much do you drink a day?
Oh my God, I could drink this whole thing. It's so hard not to. So I'll tell you what, here we have, this is Dawn. Dawn Parente is a kefir expert, and she goes around the world. She's coming to the school. I'm going to let her teach. She's going to do a demonstration at Newport Massage School for the massage students on how to make kefir. And if you do this with kefir milk, you can make kefir milk. You can actually apply it to a mask on the face, and it does the most amazing.
Oh, yes.
Could you email that to us?
Sure. I have this already. This right here. You want email? Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I already put it in an email, and I was going to forward it to Renee to send to you all.
Oh, okay.
Yep. But this is what Dawn says. So typically with kefir water, you can drink up to 8 cups per day. And in the beginning, you will have a detoxing effect. So, and I didn't have a total detox effect at all because I went in moderation. I had just a little bit, and then I built up the next day a little more and a little more. But if you do too much, you can have diarrhea and cramps and headache, insomnia, nausea. So you have to sort of watch not to go crazy on it. So this is on the second day, and you let it sit on your counter between 2 and 5 days. So I'm on the second with this, and I'm going to give it one more day, and it'll be perfect on the third day. And I'm going to start growing them. So they're actually happy, and they're growing now more than So in other words, their colonies have multiplied. They're like happy down there, copulating, growing more of their own selves, and then I'll go to a bigger glass jar, and I'll add more so it's a 1:1:1 ratio of sugar and a pinch of salt and sugar and salt. Yeah, that's it. So it's just kefir grains, and I just I go like that to the sugar, cane sugar, not coconut sugar, by the way. Coconut sugar doesn't work with kefir. So cane sugar, I just use my hand in my sugar bag, and I don't measure. I just go like that, and then I pop it into this jar, and then I have this amazing salt. She uses baking soda, but I'm going to show you a salt that is so healing. Just give me a second. Okay, I should have had this out, but I didn't expect to show you this, but this is the alkaline mineral salt. So so many people in the world are deficient in minerals and have a very hard time getting minerals into our bodies. And we eat more sugar than we eat salt. Our body really needs more salt than sugar. And the salt is what increases prana. Did you know that? Without the salt, our prana isn't as strong. That actually salt, the electrical qualities of salt, increases prana, which is why when we go under the ocean, salt water, all our doshas go home. We are salt water. So we need more salt, and this is one of the best salts that you can get. I got it from Dr. Robert Young's website. So pH miracle, increases alkalinity, reduces acidity. So this balances my kefir water. So my kefir water is not only yummy, easy to make, but it is so nutritious that it is just, you just want to drink the whole thing. It's so hard not to, because, you know, in our culture, more is better. So I'm trying to see it as medicine, but oh my God, it's tasty. So tasty, so yummy. And
so do you use this even in your food or just in that drink?
No, like last night I sat down to rice, pasta, and some peas. I was just in a rush to eat, and I didn't have a lot of time to prepare, but I just boiled up some rice, pasta, and I made some peas, mixed it together, and I had my kefir. I had just like this much in a jar of kefir, and I drank that down, very slow sips with my meal, and it digested so beautifully. I had no bubbles, I had no indigestion, I slept like a baby, and my intestines have been a little angry at me lately because I inhaled some pesticide by accident. They sprayed for ants at my school, the arrest-the-pest, and the pesticide increased my pitta, which increased leaky gut, irritable bowel, caused, you know, bubbles and distended. I was distended, and I couldn't hardly eat anything for a while. For almost 3 weeks, I was in a crisis. So I went over to Dawn's house, and I said, Dawn, my friendly bacteria is imbalanced. I have an overload of unfriendly bacteria in my intestines. I'm not able to digest. I am at war. So I want more good soldiers in my intestines so I can, you know, return back to good digestion, because I was doing pretty good before I inhaled all the bacteria in the air, all the pesticides and the fumes. I actually vomited that day. I was teaching how to do pranayama, deeply inhaling pesticides. Horrible. And probably went to my deepest dhatus by doing pranayama in pesticide-ridden air. Horrible for pitta. And anyways, I'm back. I'm feeling like I detoxed myself enough. Took me almost 3 weeks to a month with the kefir that no more distended belly, no more gas, no more any of the symptoms are gone. This has been my medicine, my best medicine. Very simple. A pinch of the salt, handful of the sugar. I picked the French dates, the French plums that are delicious, because these plums are laxative. So I take them out when I strain the water. After 3 days, I strain them, and then all the little kefir grains are there, and the plums are there, and the ginger pieces are there. And I pull out the plums and I eat them because they are powerful at that point. They're medicine. These plums at this point have so much friendly bacteria in them, and as well as they're very gently laxative. It's just lovely to eat them, because you get like a cleansing. You know, have a great bowel movement, and at the same time they're a delicious treat because they have a little kick to them. And then I throw the ginger out. I could eat the ginger, I guess, if I wanted to. And I put the grains back into an empty glass container at the bottom, and I add more water, fill it up. You need to have a little air at the top so they can breathe. And then I put my sugar back in, you know, a handful of cane sugar, and then a big pinch of the salt. And then I pick a fruit. I made a kiwi one. It was delicious. Little pieces of kiwi with lemon and lime. And then I shake it around, you know, take a little stir with a knife or whatever, a spoon, put it on my counter, and I cover it warm with a dishcloth, and no breeze, no sunlight on it. And I check on them, you know, every day. I look inside and see if they're bubbling, because you want them to make a noise and bubble. As soon as I open the jar, if I don't see bubbling, I don't think that they're alive. But so if I open this, it'll usually make a pop. No pop on that, but see there, all the bubbles are rising to the top. I don't know if you can see that, but they're actively excited that I just opened the jar, and now all the air is making everything bubble up. I don't think you can see it, but it smells so good. Oh, if you guys could smell this, you know, and I'm not a big wine person. I don't even like fermented drinks, but this fermented drink is so divine. So I'll send directions on that. Oh, they're actually jumping out. They're so excited. Okay, so I'll put that back over here. Any questions on that?
Well, do you just drink it just like that, or do you strain it at all with all of that in there? Or do you
I did. I explained that I strain it, and I put a metal strainer in one of those glass pitchers that you can use as a measuring pitcher, and all the good stuff goes in the pitcher, and then the strainer catches the grains, the fruit, and the ginger. You don't have to add ginger, but I always love adding ginger to everything because of it's auspicious. It takes whatever is nutritious and it brings it into the deeper levels of the tissue whenever you add ginger, fresh ginger. It doesn't disturb pitta with fresh ginger. So with that, I then drink that delicious, concoction, take the grains, put them in a new container, empty container, and feed them with some sugar, salt, and new fruit, cover it up, and let them brew on the stove or, wherever. Dawn puts them in her cabinet. I'm afraid to put them in my cabinet so I'll forget them. So I put them right on my counter somewhere warm, cover them up, and I get to drink that concoction for the next 2 or 3 days while the other brew is brewing, so that by the time I'm done drinking this little concoction, 2 to 3 days, I have a little bit, then my new concoction is ready to go.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Really simple, really delicious. So no effort, no time. Once you start the first one, you can do the second one, no problem. And I'll send these directions over to you. Any other questions? No? Okay, so what time are we at? 12:48. What time do we end? So 12, 11. So
We
what
end
time?
at 1. Yeah, 1.
1. Okay, so we have 15 minutes or so, and I would love to answer any questions you have. Is everybody clear about their Prakriti and Vikruti?
So clear, Karyn. This was so very helpful.
Good.
I was finding myself attaching every fiber to the pulse diagnosis and becoming a little apprehensive. Now, this is beautiful. Thank you.
Good. Yeah. Oh, you're so welcome. And what part was it that you were talking that there are many paths up the mountain that you don't have to just know the pulse?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. That's liberating. It's so liberating. Yeah, I remember when I first graduated, I wasn't really confident on the pulse, and I felt like Dr. Ladd graduated the whole class and threw out, all the babies, and, the mother hen was, where did I belong? I wasn't ready. How could I do that? I don't know what I'm doing. I need more time. I was insecure. I felt like I was just kicked out of the nest, that feeling. And I had the support of Barbara and a few others, Glenn, and some other classmates, that when I would be feeling my client's pulse, I was feeling vata, always feeling vata at the first layer, the very most subtle first layer, Vikruti. And I couldn't understand that because Dr. Ladd never told anybody that. So why was every client that was coming to me, why was I feeling vata imbalance? So I call up Barbara, I called up my friends, and are you all experiencing that every client has some vata imbalance? Am I doing this wrong? So they all told me they had the same experience. Everybody was feeling the vata finger, the top layer in Vikruti. And I started to make assumptions that this whole world is slightly vata deranged. So no, Dr. Ladd didn't tell us that. I had to figure that out. So I want you all to know that when you're having your first experience as a pulse practitioner, you may feel this and wonder, are you off? How can this be? No, I really, even today, I feel majority of people's imbalances lie in vata. And I thought about it, because my mind is in the 8th house. My Mercury's sitting there, and when I philosophize and think about these things, it's where I'm happiest. So I thought, well, the earth is in the vata stage of life. The Mother Earth is a macrocosm of the microcosm, and if Mother Earth is experiencing so many vata disturbances where, there's volcanic eruptions, there's earthquakes, and there's, her arteries are clogged, and she has old age symptoms, and a lot of changes in earth, the weather, all of this is very vata, what's going on. And if that's true, and we are microcosms of the macro, we really have Mother Earth within us, and she has us within her, then we must all have a little more vata in our Vikruti pulse than maybe a millennium ago, or even 1,000 years ago, or 500 years ago, whatever. But now, more and more, with people multitasking, where we just remember the days of voicemail, where the phone would ring, and if nobody was home, too bad. Now, if nobody's home, they get to leave a message, and they get to text message you, and they get to email you. So you're gotten on all these levels. We are fragmented at all times. We are responsible for returning these phone calls and returning these text messages and these emails and the Facebook messages and whatever. We're just not the same people we were even 25 years ago. Now we're multitasking, and when people get you on media, on internet, they actually literally are taking little pieces. So we're being fragmented a little bit here and a little bit there, and at this moment, we're not fully here. Does that make sense? We're just not fully in this moment because we are in debt to email, text messages, and voicemail. We are, to live in this society. And in order for us to be in that energetic debt of being gotten at any moment and having the responsibility of when we're finished with this webinar, we will then have to get back to the people who called us while we were busy. That means that we were fragmented energetically. What does that do to our physiology and to our psychology? It disturbs vata. So that's why not only is Mother Earth disturbed, even her oil is depleted. Her ojas is depleted. There's hardly any oil left. We've just drained the hell out of this poor Mother Earth. So she's lacking ojas. It's like an old lady walking around all withered and shaky and tremors and Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, and she needs oleation and abhyanga, and her ojas is gone. So Mother Earth, same thing. And how could we expect not to feel vata because of Mother Earth's state of being, as well as because we're fragmented from living in a world where we're expected to be so many places at once. That's my story on this chronic vata pulse that you will feel in yourselves and in your clients. Not everybody's going to be vata 3, but they may be just 0.5 up, just 0.5 up, that maybe 30 years ago didn't exist.
I have a question, Karyn.
Yes.
Now, I don't know my horoscope, so I don't know, how would I know what's my prakriti?
Oh, you don't have to know the horoscope. Remember I said there are so many paths up the mountain.
Yeah, I know. So how would I find out what's my prakriti? I can never figure that out.
Well, for you, either you get a chart rectification, you find out your birth time through asking an astrologer who's really gifted at rectification to find the time, or you can forget about it and just
I want to forget about it.
You want to forget about it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because it's
And
difficult.
find another.
Yeah, find another path, and that's it's not your path. So you could do pulse and tongue and the nails and your physiology, your personal and psychological prakruti and vikruti. You could look at the questionnaires and
Okay.
find other ways. Look at I bet you have some burned pots and pans in your kitchen.
Not a couple of them. Yes, I do.
Yes. I wonder if you've ever had any house fires or dryer fires.
Oh, no, I haven't, thank God.
Oh, good. It's not that bad then. But yeah, people who have high pitta are prone to house fires, accidents. It's called kuja dosha. Kuja dosha, meaning high pitta and sunburn.
I'm famous for leaving things on to cook, and if I don't put the timer on, it's gone.
You burn. Yeah, you burn
So
them.
I have to always put a timer on and go back and check it.
Yeah, so that's a pitta person that just naturally, easily burns her food if you're not mindful. It's the way your mind bends, your way your life goes. Is burning food is just second nature. I can attest to that. All my pans are burned as well. So I'm aware of my pitta. So it's good to be aware. Hindu, now you're finally aware of this. That's really...
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. First step is awareness, self-study.
Yes.
You're doing really well.
I've learned a lot about myself, especially after talking to Gauri.
Oh, good. Yeah, she's really a light, a ray of light will shine and illuminate all of your questions. She will help you with. Anyone else have questions?
This was a very enlightening class.
Good.
A lot of information.
I'm so glad. I'd love to teach. If I had more time, I would do them all. Just
very enlightening. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I think we have 3 more minutes for one last question.
Could you maybe give us some examples of Vata and Kapha having like solid giveaways, like the pots and the pans being burned would be for Pitta?
Yeah, so the Kapha people, not necessarily going into their kitchen to look at their pots and pans, but I usually can tell that I'm with a Kapha person if they're laughing, like a little chuckle in between every other sentence. And they usually will make comments like, well, if I just smell the chocolate, I gain weight, right? Or they'll tell me they've had tumors and cysts, that they're prone to excess earth. Listening to them talk, what their past ailments have been. I also find that their personalities are sticky. They are clingy. And, I have a niece who was born Kapha, and Kapha, I should say, she had like 11 tumors pulled out of her uterus when she was 12 years old. And they were like that big. And she was tiny though, so you would never have thought that she had this Kapha disorder. But during Christmas holidays and birthdays, she used to go around and touch everybody. She would be pulling, hair and braiding and brushing everyone's hair, massaging, and she had to touch everybody. And that's loving and kind, but there was this something else about it that was very sticky quality. Like she had a personality that she was, I call it glommed on to people. She would find someone and glom on. And that was her personality, and it expressed through Kapha in her tumors that she had. And white skin, she had pale, kind of not a lot of radiance coming from her, which would be tejas and fire. She was very, just pale looking, dull, like a dull Kapha face, dull eyes. So those are ways to see about someone having excessive Kapha, especially secretly, because they're not classic fat. She was a thin, skinny, mini, tall. For her age, she was tall, but she was very difficult to, someone had to really know what the Kapha dosha looked like in excess by listening to her, watching her ways. Yeah, does that make sense? I can't think of something like to tell you right away like looking at the pots and pans, just the nature of the personality is really telling. They usually have a squishy little nose, little button nose, little, like their cheeks are kind of squishy looking, because kapha is childlike. So they have like cherub faces, cherub noses.
Oh. And for Vata, are there things that always give it away for you?
Oh yeah. Thinking of my friend Karyn. Oh my God, was she Vata? And she had a classic Vata chart. She looked tall and thin. She looked Vata. She had dry skin in the face and not a lot of radiance, and also more white, kind of white skin. And she changed her furniture in her home every time I would visit. Every other month I'd walk in and the bed was then on the right, and so the bed used to be on the left, and the couch is now in the other room. And this room entirely changed. Her treatment room was no longer in her living room. Her treatment room became her dining room. So this was, I knew I didn't even have to feel her pulse. She couldn't keep anything the same. And she would have spotty conversations where she wouldn't finish a whole sentence. She would skip words. She was late a lot. She had such a personality of Vata. She was just sort of in the clouds, and she was delightful, though. She was fun. She was never boring. Sometimes the kapha, they're so, just, barely monotone, and you can only listen to them for so long. She was just so colorful and creative, and she also had pitta. She was, magnetic, and she was charismatic in some level, but mostly she was disconnected and spacey and changeable, variable. She would say one thing, so convicted about it, and then the next week she had a new belief. She found a new deity, a new god, a new religion, and a new boyfriend. So you just observe people and understand their nature, and you can see the doshas playing out in their personalities, in their homes, in their words, in their actions. But I can't think about one thing that would be like as easy as looking at a pot or pan, except walk in someone's house, and if it's constantly changing, that's Vata. Did I answer your question?
You did, yes. And it makes me think of myself, like I constantly burn my pans because by paying attention, I start doing other things.
Me too. Join the club.
Yeah, and I'm constantly rearranging furniture, so constantly.
Constantly, there you are. Okay, so that helps you understand yourself better.
It does.
Yeah. So there's no judgment on it. It just is what it is, and it's what makes us so unique, so different, which I love. Just sitting at a bus stop, or it's fun sitting in an airplane, and if I have nothing better to do, just look at everybody and figure out what dosha they are. You see the guy across the way from me is doing crossword puzzles and not sleeping, and he's all into analyzing and reading and figuring it out, and then the kapha person is just snoring next to me after she's eaten like 6 chocolate bars, and then the vata person is looking out the window at any time going to vomit because they're so afraid the plane's going to crash. So it's just fun to look at how the doshas are expressing in strangers around you. And if you put on those lenses, you start to understand Ayurveda that way. It just helps to see the world through the doshas. Well, I have enjoyed this time with all of you.
Thank you. This was a beautiful class.
Thank you.
Renee?
Yes, my dear.
You posted these websites on this thing here. I can't go to it because I'm on the screen, but Karyn, could you put it on the email for us?
Sure.
Thank you so much.
No problem. And just a quick note, I'm going to be traveling this week.
Okay.
So if you email me and I don't reply right away, I will get back to you.
Please enjoy your vacation. We all need time away.
Well, I'll be in class with you on the 2 Thursdays.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Renee.
Thank you. Thank you, Karyn.
Oh, I love all of you.
Thank you, everybody.